U.S. military with NATO are making advancements in the Arctic now to try to counter Russia in all the advancements that Russia's made in the Arctic over the past few decades. They've had a big advantage in terms of cutting through the snow and through the ice for a long time. They've had a series of icebreakers in motion up in these waterways, just kind of crisscrossing and navigating through all these areas that other countries could not get into, believe it or not. So people think, oh, the United States has all the top shelf of everything. When it came to icebreakers, they only had two, of which can even come close to getting up and navigating these waters. They had to start to build and commission more of them. And Russia was just way ahead of the pack in terms of their number of icebreakers. Now they could obviously similar to those icebreakers out to an area and then have a whole line of military vessels following it, so it could just cut the path. You can have multiple ones out there cutting multiple paths. Now, if you only have one icebreaker, well, your whole line of military can only follow through that one line that they're cutting out, so it leaves them susceptible. You have multiple ones out there, you can break loose in different areas, different directions, and it helps to spread you out and not leave you just one target, one area. So NATO has called upon its allies, hundreds of troops from different countries. You have France and there are the European countries sending troops here to train for this specific task of trying to counter Russia in the Arctic. So, first things first, they have to adapt to dealing with the cold. This is something that Russia's been doing for a long time. And then they have to learn how to navigate through that with their troops, with their equipment, with their newer technologies. And it's just another environment that they're going to have to master in terms of a battlefield if they want to overcome an enemy that has already been in this region and that is making advancements big time. So we've talked about China and the South China Sea trying to snatch up reserves and minerals. Well, the same thing can be said for up here in the Arctic that's loaded with these reserves. Russia has rights to a large portion that is around their continental shelf. That's how they determine who gets what. Canada has a large section as well, but it seems that Russia's just creeping closer and closer. And this is why they're making these moves up there. But I wanted to point it out, these latest drills that are geared toward the Arctic, I'm going to leave a link. Make sure to follow me on Twitter for more. I'm Dahboo 7. Peace.
Shalom. The foremost, I'm going to start out by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakadash. Salutation to the elders and apostles of GMS groups, the ones that like teach 100% truth. Shalom, Barakatham to them. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS groups, the ones that like teach 100% truth. Shalom, Barakatham to them for the edification and knowledge. And the foremost, give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakadash. That was a video relating a year ago relating to Dahboo 7, talking about U.S. and allies training in Arctic to combat and counter Russia. You know what I mean? That was also a video 2 years ago relating to that, training in Arctic, you know what I mean, for U.S. allies and U.S. and the allies training to counter Russia as well. There's various videos on that. That was Dahboo 7 video. I'm going to get some scriptures. It's Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. A time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. That relates to a time and season and a time of war. Time of preparing for war against these nations, man. I'm going to go to Joel 3, 3rd chapter, talking about relating to the gathering of these nations. I'm going to go to number 1 of Ecclesiastes. Everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the sun. So it's a time and season and purpose according to its season. Let's go to, all right, we want to go to Joel. Before I go to Joel, I'm going to go to Isaiah 56 and 11. This is Isaiah 56 and 11. Ye, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain, for his quarter. Quarter represents that profit. His own gain relates to his selfish gain. The shepherds that cannot understand, shepherds that lack discernment and understanding, and had no interest to look out for the sheep. And they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. They have a fierce and avarice, and they have a fierce avarice appetite for greed, and they never can have enough. So they have to be in the action, be in other people's action, and be in other people's business, because they're not content with their being in their own space and their own territory. You know what I mean? It sounds familiar. It's talking about a specific entity. I'm going to go to let's go to Joel 3. This is Joel number 3. I'm going to start at number 10. Number 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, and let them come up, the nations. Beat your plowshares into swords, and pruning hooks into spears, pretty much weapons. And that relates to plowshares, and pruning hooks are agricultural farming paraphernalia or equipment. I'm going to read that again. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. That relates to these other nations that are building up and preparing for war. For they're beginning to build up and become stronger. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause the mighty ones to come down to the Lord, relating to these nations. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat, which means Yahweh has judged, and pretty much the valley of decision. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, and it relates to these nations. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe, for it's ready to be taken. The harvest is ripe. That means it's ready to execute and be judged. Come, get you down, for the press is full and the fats overflow. and their wickedness is great. You know what I mean? So the judgment related to their wickedness is great, and um, their wickedness is great. You know what I mean? Yeah, their wickedness is great, and so judgment is going to come upon them. You know what I mean? So pretty much the sickle is relating to Yahweh Shai executing judgment upon these nations. The multitudes and multitudes in the valleys of decision, Yahweh Shaphat. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shine. That's part of the things that's going to happen, relating to different signs and terrors that's going to happen upon the latter times, man. The earth moving to and fro, off its axis. The moon no longer has a light. The sun no longer is dark like sackcloth. These are parts of the terrible signs relating to the end. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. They're going to shake. They're going to move out of place. The Lord's voice is like many waters, man. You know what I mean? So it's going to move. It's going to pretty much literally move things out of place, man. But the Lord will be the hope of his people and strength of the children of Israel, because the children of Israel are going to be they're going to be restored back into Yahweh Shem Yahshua. They're going to be redeemed and brought back, and mercy is going to be shown to a small remnant related to the nation of Israel. Let me read number 1 through, I guess, number 3. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. So they're going to be brought back together, because in Jeremiah 50:33, they will be captive into a certain area. That's here. Because the majority of here, they all scatter, of course, abroad, but the majority of them together is gathered to a certain nation, you know what I mean, which is here. I will also gather all the nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land, relations to other nations. The things they have done to the nation of Israel, you know. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Pretty much things that the wickedness they have done upon the Lord, the Lord's people, the apple of his eye. Yes, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, which relates to Hamites, and all these coasts of the Palestines, will ye render me a recompense? And that recompense is pretty much a form of payback for what was done to a certain people that's going to be done to them, man. That's that recompense. That recompense is a form of pretty much a judgment. And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return you the recompense upon your own head. So they're going to get what's coming to them. Related to Revelations 13 and 11, let's get that. Because the Lord is going to judge these nations, man. (13 and 10). He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So what was done, what certain nations have done to relating to the Lord's people, the apple of his eyes, are going to be returned. Is going to be returned to them, and that's the recompense. pretty much the payback. That being said, this was just something short relating to that video relating to training in the Arctic, because they preparing themselves for harsh and cold elements and climates, man. You know what I mean? So Russia and them, they grew up in that kind of zone. You know what I mean? They used to that. So the troops, the U.S. Troops and allies had to adapt to deal in that kind of harsh environment, and most of all, fighting in that kind of harsh environment, where Russia has an advantage because that's an everyday environment for them. They used to that. Let's go to 24 Matthews. I'll go to this verse here. Pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Pray and not be in the winter because it's cold. Pray that will be in the season that you be able to deal appropriately in that climate. Prepared, be in the season that you be able to adapt and make adjustments, and an environment that's suitable, most of all, that the weather is cooperative to you. 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. Ever shall be. Shalakia. Read it again. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Put that with Jeremiah 30:7. That's great tribulation, Jacob's trouble. And except those days shall be shortened, and there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. For the elect's sake, man. Because if not, there will be no flesh to save. Because Revelations 12:12, like I said, the devil's going to come in great wrath because he has a short time, man. So he's going to come full throttle, merciless, and without pity, man. And that being said, this was something short. Give all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yahshua, Bashim Rakadesh. The water for listening. I hope this helped or benefit whoever listened. The water for listening. Give all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yahshua, Bashim Rakadesh. Shalom.